No, because you with you with you. And you want to get. Go to the rest.
afternoon. Okay, let's try that again. Good afternoon. It's good to see everyone here in person, and I think we have some folks. Good, great. Glad everyone's joining us virtually as well. So I'm Dr. Kay Smith, and I got the signal that it is time for us to begin. So I like to start and get a motion card.
I'll say.
Okay, we got that. You all capture that? Okay, great. All right, so we're gonna go over the agenda, just as a on where we are and what we hope to accomplish. This meeting is really designed as one for us to share information. What I have really come to love most about meetings is doing best practices. So I'm really looking forward to today's, but also it just is a nice time for us to come together, round out the year, think about the work that's been accomplished, and celebrate a little bit together. So we have partner updates that we'll start with. We'll do a recap of the year and see how far we've come. I mentioned we'll celebrate some best practices and have a bit of a discussion about looking forward and what's ahead. And then, of course, we continue to be extremely appreciative of you making this a priority and being here to do the work we're called to do together. So with that, do we have a forum? Not yet. Okay. Since we don't have a quorum,
I was just gonna add, we do have some folks joining a little late, but if by chance we don't have quorum, we can still conduct the meeting. Approve the minutes the next week. But we've got some folks joining virtually, so.
okay, so we'll move right along then. Stacey, you want to do roll call for us?
Amy Smith.
Here.
Andrea Day. Here. Anita Dow. Beth Morton. Brittany Howe. Jeannie Cummings. Dr. Amy Hood. Dr. Annette Bridges.
Here.
Dr. Connie White.
Here.
Dr. Felicia Cummings Smith. Dr. Jason Gilbert.
Here.
Dr. Jason Glass or proxy.
Dr. Thomas Williams here for Dr. Glass.
Greta McKenzie. Kim Fithian. Lynn Baker.
Here.
Paula Goff.
Here.
Representative Kim Banta. Rena Gratz.
Here.
Scotty Collier. Secretary Eric Freelander. Secretary Jamie Link.
Marty Gaines, proxy for Secretary Link.
Senator Danny Carroll. Tracy Stimmel. Travis Burton.
Here.
Paula Burdette. You, Deputy Secretary Beth Brenley.
Great. Just before we get started, since we don't have a quorum yet, we'll hold off on approval of the minutes. I hope everyone has an opportunity to get a chance to look at those. But the other thing that I'd love to just start out by doing is just revisiting our mission statement. So I'm just going to read that aloud just to ground us in the work that we're doing together so that we can accomplish the work for our United citizens and our families. So our mission as the Kentucky Governor's Office of Early Childhood, our mission is to provide leadership and direction for the Commonwealth with the goal of maintaining a comprehensive and sustainable prenatal to age 5 early childhood system that ensures a strong foundation for all children. I know the passion of this office and the leadership that it is providing And I was talking with Amy in preparation for today's conversation. I've seen a lot of executive directors in this role and have worked with many executive directors and their teams. And I've continued to be impressed with the work that is happening out of the office and the work that we're able to accomplish together as a council. So as we get into our updates, what I'd love for us to continue to do, and I'll remind you at this point, is to think about the commitment that we have to coordination and really deepening our efforts to provide a coordinated system. And with that, I just want to highlight the goals, which is the first one, right? To promote greater coordination and collaboration within communities statewide, to ensure that we are really focusing on quality and continuous improvement. We have a lot of work to continue to do for Kentucky children and families, and to ensure that children are prepared and ready to enter kindergarten. We know that there have been huge implications for the continued work that we have ahead of us as a Commonwealth because of the pandemic, but also because of the needs that are reflected across Kentucky communities. So just continue to keep them at the forefront as we move and navigate through our agenda today. With that, I'm going to turn it over to agency updates. And let's go ahead, Dr. Williams, would you like to hear the presentation?
Absolutely. So good afternoon, everyone. It's always good to be in community with you, and I'm happy to be here to talk around the great work that we're doing with Kentucky Department of Education. So I have two updates. The first update, and I don't know if you all remember, but during the last ECAC meeting, I came to spoke around what we're doing in regards to the ARP funds for learning. One thing that we are doing, we continue to do, is promote the early learning teacher leader community. So we're very, very excited to see that this is moving forward. So currently we have 67 participants. And when I mean participants, I mean teachers. So we have 67 preschool teachers around the state who are participating in this professional learning community in 44 districts. And so in these meetings, we're collaborating, we're learning more around PLCs and what we can do to promote PLCs throughout the Commonwealth. I'm acknowledging early childhood as a profession. And I'm going to say it one more time, but it's extremely important, is to recognize early childhood as a profession. And to review teacher leadership development. So again, we're building capacity with these teachers, and especially coming out of COVID, we're seeing their practices, some may change, some we may need to strengthen. So again, with this, we are continuing to move forward. We still have a few upcoming meetings that we continue to do this work. So we're very excited to share that information around one out of the many things that we're doing around early learning with ARP funds. Secondly, I know everyone is familiar with Bill Buchanan. We are so excited, and I hope Bill's watching. But we are so excited that Bill was nominated and selected as the Kevin M. Nolan and Mary Ann Miller. So well deserved. We appreciate the work that he's done and he continues to do. So again, those are the updates for the Kentucky Department of Education. And I look forward to continuing to collaborate and with you throughout this meeting. Thank you.
Great. Are there any questions, Dr. Williams? Any from our virtual colleagues? Thank you so much, and I am thrilled that you brought into that space the recognition of Bill and the hard work and leadership that he's provided for the Commonwealth for many years. Bill and I worked very closely together when I was at the Department as well. And he's such a rich history, and contributions. So that's incredible. Yeah, such an honor. Let's go ahead and move to the Cabinet for Health and Family Services.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Andrea Day, the Director for the Division of Child Care. This year, child care has been very busy as it's been a focal point for everyone and every industry. We have increased our CCAP eligibility twice this year, once in January and then again in July. And that has netted about 2,000 more families and about 3,000 more children that are now eligible to receive CCAP. We have also started a program called transitional childcare. So families who exit out of our program, we are using ARPA funds to pay for 6 months worth of their childcare at 50% of the rate. Really, that's something to combat the cliff effect that most families face, with childcare being the steepest cliff that they face. And that's something that we will continue to look at making a permanent graduated phase out. We don't know that it will look like 6 months, but a graduated phase out to where families have time to readjust their budgets to pay for their childcare on their own. We also started the childcare employee income exclusion. So anyone who works in a regulated childcare program can apply for CCAP, and all of their household income will be excluded. So that's a benefit not only for children and their families, but it's also a benefit to employers, and it's a benefit that the employers aren't having to pay for. And in the first month alone, we had 226 families apply for that, and that benefited 392 children. So we're really excited about that. We're going to do some further digging in the data to see how many of those families were maybe already CCAP eligible and didn't know it, to see if they really benefited from this program or if they just didn't think they were CCAP eligible before. So we're really doing a deeper dive to look at that, get some quality data. We're also continuing to work on House Bill 499, which is the child care employer child care assistance partnership, where employers pay a certain percentage or a certain amount of their employees' child care. The state will match that. We have weekly meetings about the development of what it will look like if we can build it into a system and make it as easy as possible for the employer and the employee. That way it's not an additional burden, so that we can have as many folks as possible apply for that. And we're really excited about it. The regulation was filed in September, and the open comment period does end December 31st. So I did add a link to the reg. If anyone wants to peruse that and offer us feedback, I encourage you to do so. And then our American Rescue Plan update, we're still holding steady at 3 business partnership grants. We have seen an increase in interest a little bit as the December 31st application deadline approaches. Same with the Child Care Desert grants. We are slowly increasing those numbers. But one of the biggest things that I'm most proud of is our scholarship program for those in early childcare. As you can see here, it's 672 awards, and that went to 429 individual scholars. That touched 22 different institutions of higher ed. And out of our community and technical college system, 13 out of the 16 are participating. So it's a wide range. 70+% is for associates and bachelor's degrees, with 77% being IECE in particular. So folks have heard about it. They're taking advantage. Please continue to spread the word to those in early education about this possibility to further their education. And that's our update. You know, it's a lot. It's a lot, but we're really excited and to keep things moving forward on the same trajectory that it's been. So
Yeah, thank you,
Yeah.
Andrea. So much to celebrate within that update moving forward and thinking about people happening. So I thank you for that. Are there any questions? Let's see. Okay.
Andrea, I love the childcare assistant for employees in the industry. And I know you talked about getting data on the employees, and I would really like to know how many employers benefited from it, because as a business owner, that is a huge benefit that we often give our staff, that there is no recourse to recoup that anywhere except having a slot that we can't bill for. So I'd be really curious to see what employers' perspectives were and how much that actually helped them be able to maybe provide higher wages to their staff because they don't have 6 people that they're covering childcare for. So I love that program. I think it's a genius program to start. Thank you from childcare providers across the state.
Excellent point. And Andrea, is that something that you could possibly go back?
I can see if we can drill it down that specifically, get with their data folks.
Okay.
To see what's out there.
Okay, super, thank you. Dr. Bridges.
Yes, Andrea, I have a question, maybe because I don't know. But I'm excited about the guideline increasing this year. So twice. So in January, it increased from 160% of poverty to 200. Then back in July, it increased from 200% poverty to 85% state median income. So if you don't mind explaining that.
Okay, so we get information from the census about what the state median income is, and I have a chart that I can. And actually, I think it's in the other minutes from last time.
Oh.
There's a chart that shows kind of the expansion. It means that families, breaking it down really simple, a family of 4, if I'm correct, can make up to $66,000 a year and still qualify for child care assistance. Whereas before at 160%, that was incredibly lower. So we really opened, I don't want to say open the floodgates, but we really made it more accessible for families to buy. And that way their children are getting quality care, because it ties into readiness and all that. Yeah.
And one last thing, just in case everybody doesn't know what the IECE, what it stands for.
I'll mess it up, interdisciplinary early childhood education.
Yes. And that is a certification program.
Very good, very good. Any questions from our colleagues participating virtually? Jason. Dr. Gilbert.
Thank you. Okay, so my question is regarding the grant. So you have Family Child Care Startup Grant, 28 applications that were funded. So
Yes.
my question regarding that is, does that hit those desert areas, like geographically, if you looked at them? And then what's the plan for following through to make sure they start up, but will they continue? Because that's the other part, is sometimes they start up, but then they close. So I wanted to see if there was any plan to sort of follow through to see how much of ongoing and will they continue to operate in those?
Absolutely. That is part of their contract as well, with the agreement that they sign when they receive those funds. And I apologize for skimming over those. Those have been critical, and it has been across the state in desert areas as well. Those initially were only $2,500. We increased those to $5,000. And what we did, we increased that 2 months ago. We went back, and everyone who had applied for this through the ARP funds, we made sure they got the additional $2,500. That way it was equitable across all applicants. We will be looking at data. We did stand up our staff family child care network in the past 18 months. So they are very critical to this piece as well, of supporting these providers, giving them the strong start that they need to be successful small business owners. So we will be looking into how many have opened, how many may have pursued higher quality, and all of those things. That will be an ongoing evaluation for us.
That's great.
And I do have a map that I can share with you showing where the desert grants, the family child care grants, where what counties have been touched by that, and the overlap. So I can share that with the group as well.
That would be really helpful. Yeah, because I was thinking about the child care desert grant versus the family child care startup, and see if they kind of compensate for the child care desert if they do family child care, especially in rural areas. So.
Exactly that type of questions, Dr. Gilbert, we want to help with alignment and coordination. So I really appreciate you sharing that. Any other questions from our colleagues? All right, let's move on to this Head Start Collaborative Office. Lynn.
Yeah. So in your packet, I've shared that we distributed 9,000 copies of our family guides, which are the completing these to the early childhood standards that were released in June. They are beautiful. And there's a link there because we're starting the next round of distribution so that we can make sure that we're getting public preschool, we're getting regional training centers, we're getting childcare, we're getting hands, all of our partners, we want them to have access. So that actually, the deadline for completing that survey is supposed to be tomorrow, but I'll probably fudge it a little bit and go through next week. And then our office is also working collaboratively with Bill Buchanan at KDE and the Kentucky Head Start Association to explore the creation of some resources and supports for full utilization, that whole process change, and just making sure that we're giving some resources and help for that, because it is confusing for partners. And so we want to make sure we get supports for that. We also successfully submitted our annual collaboration office grant and received the notice of award on that. And then the early care and education family friendly school certificate program in collaboration with our office and Pritchard and in collaboration with Kentucky Head Start Association, we relaunched that. We made sure we were being inclusive of some Head Start language in that. We've had our first Head Start public preschool blended program receive that, which is really exciting. And that's Northside Early Childhood Center in Shelbyville. Very excited about that. And there will be another opportunity to participate in the next cycle. And so I'll put the link there for Head Start and public preschools and childcare to get on board.
Lovely, thank you. I was able to be in attendance when the schools and Head Start programs were identified for their celebration. Such a great event, and a lot of people are doing a lot of hard work to reach those standards and expectations around that certification program. Any questions for Lynn?
Just wanted to know, Lynn, I'm sure it's in the link, but what are some of those indicators that Northside met in order to get this?
There is a really lengthy self-assessment that we have contributed to. It's quick to do, but it's very comprehensive. That's what I mean. And so there are lots of indicators on how they engage with families, how families are actually part of the educational process. Going above and beyond just family night, basically, you're really engaged with families, really having families part of the educational process. And so a lot of the Head Start indicators, because Head Start does family engagement fantastically, have been embedded in that. And so that's part of that self-assessment process.
So Lynn, is that collaboration between Head Start and public preschool an expectation for application in this, or does it?
It's not an
Does it make a difference?
expectation, but it's embedded within that assessment. So if that's part of it, then you score that accordingly. But any early childhood agency can participate, childcare, public preschool, Head Start, blended programs. And we really want that across the board. We relaunched to really make sure we were being inclusive of Head Start. So, but it's across the board.
Thank you.
Very good. Any questions from our colleagues participating virtually? Great. And then our last partner agency update, Part C, early intervention.
Good afternoon. This is Paula Goff, and we've been very busy this whole fall, but it seems like the calendar for us gets really crunched towards the end of the year with federal reports, a variety of those, as well as just our daily operations. We were very pleased that our December 1 child count, which literally is just a snapshot of that day, and the number of children who have an individualized family service plan on that day was almost 15% higher than last year. I think we are seeing a very steady recovery from the years where the population we served was low due to the pandemic. So we were really pleased to see that. But now with that comes, growing pains, as you could imagine, because what we're seeing is our points of entry across the state are getting, lots of referrals, children to determine eligibility, which means they have to have a service coordinator. And we, like many other fields, are having difficulty filling vacancies. Hanging on to the seasoned service coordinators is become more difficult, as in many of the cases around the state, you can go to fast food and make a higher hourly rate than you can working as a professional in Part C. We're looking at how we can assist with the funds that we have available to help kind of stem that, as well as, helping look at how do we, again, provide funding to hire more staff in those agencies that really need more service coordinators because caseloads are too high to give really high quality services. So I think we're no different than many other programs that face the same thing. It's the same issue childcare faces. I think public schools in many ways also faces that same thing of the shortages of staff. We also turn in an exit report every year in November. And this year, again, our exit report indicated the growth and the improvements over things that had happened during the pandemic. One of the biggest improvements was that there were fewer children who were identified as not getting tested by the schools for Part B services. This year, that number really dropped significantly. Interestingly enough, the number of children who were eligible for Part B services in the public schools dropped from about 52% to 49%. Don't know if that was just a birth year issue or what happened, but it did drop some, which is a good thing. The other thing I was going to mention to you all is that one of our big activities that we have for our state systemic improvement plan is to do a complete overhaul on our rate structure for paying providers. And we are moving from a location-based pay rate to a quality-based pay rate. So we've brought in stakeholders. They are providers from all across the state. They represent independent providers, small agencies and large agencies, rural, urban, the whole mix of our state. And it has really been a very re-energizing committee to work with. And we've got some people with great ideas, great concerns, really tied into how could we do this. And if we're successful getting this all in place and getting it approved and we're able to get it in our regulations, we'll be the first state in a Part C system that has services paid based upon the quality of the services that families receive. So we're really excited about that work. We think it's the right direction to go in. And surprisingly, these providers, we did a nomination process. And so many of them, I see their names a lot, but I've never met them. And they are just all in. They are so excited about being on the work group and talking about this subject that it really is a very big positive for us in Part C and with our staff. Otherwise, we're just chugging along like we always do.
Thank you, Paula. Are there any questions for this report update? Any online? I think then we'll go ahead and move forward. Thank you to the partner agency. I think I can attest to, we went a little bit over on time on that, but I am really appreciative of information and sharing the rich discussion on questions. Thank you so much. So now we're going to move forward. We'll make us a little bit of time. Respect your time. We're going to move forward to our executive.
Well, we have much time we have. 20 minutes. 17 minutes.
So it's great to see everybody. I'm sporting the new boys. I've been sick, not contagious, and just got a little leftover. So it's great to see everybody in person. This section really so we thought together on this a little bit with, Dr. Cummings Smith. And it's really around, looking back to move ahead. And, it really is that time of year, where we do reflect and, about the impact that we've had. But then really how much more, especially, when you're working at the state level, how much more there is left to do. But also when you're working at the state level, you really can't help but to think about, I can't, I don't want to speak for my team, but I think probably they feel the same way about the opportunity that we've been given to serve. Last Friday, all the employees here at the state were invited over to the governor's mansion. And, it sounds fancy because it kind of is. And, got to speak with the governor and the first lady and with the lieutenant governor. And, I got the chance to tell the governor, and it was so easy, isn't it? This really has been the most rewarding job of my entire career. And I've been doing this work for a long time. And so, just to quickly say, we've really been on a journey, right? Together, we've had ups and downs, COVID and tornadoes and flooding and staff turnover and leadership turnover and a cabinet merger. I could probably go on.
But you can't.
Also just thinking about the significance of this office, we serve as the support office for this appointed, early childhood advisory council. And, in this environment that we're now in, we could become really easily distracted. It can become, I think, chaotic, a lot of commotion. It could become divisive, but I think the great news about early childhood is that it is bipartisan, right? It is. And so, what is important for you all to hear is that, our office is very focused on the mission of this office and the core priorities of this office. And that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. On the mission, on what we can control, and to ensure that, Kentucky is the best place to start and raise a people. So it just sort of made me think about what did, like when I first got here, what did I say to you all? What my first meeting, what did I say I was going to do? And are we doing that? So I just went back to that first advisory council meeting. And so it was June of 2020. And I just wanted to circle back because I do think that it's important to look back to move ahead. And so just quickly, first thing is, the mission statement. That's when we talked about the mission statement. And then the next thing I shared was, this is 20 years I've done this, But what I wanted to share with you was over my years, this is what I've learned. And I wanted you to know that I really believe that these were the key drivers in the work. Like, if we really want to boost student achievement, it's about early intervention. And it's really no matter where a child is, whether they're in an organized setting, if they're not in an organized setting, it's really about they need to have high quality experiences. And that every school needs to meet the needs of every child. And that families and schools really need to develop strong partnerships. So I wanted to share that with you. And the next slide. And we're all here for a reason. And just as important is we all have a story. And that the reason I'm so passionate, you know, Amy Smith walked in today and she just, I've got something for you today. And I was like, you're gonna make me cry, please stop. Is that, you know, we have the opportunity to work with such great people. You know, education changed my life. It changed my dad's life. It changed the trajectory for my entire family. And that's what we do every day, is to work to change the lives of children in the Commonwealth. And so that's what we do. And so the next slide. And so we said, this is what we're going to do. We said, we're going to use data to drive decision making. We're going to identify strategies that have the biggest impacts. And we're going to shape our strategic direction through shared accountability, collaboration, and really focus on sustaining others. And so, you know, that Dr. Like, how's that working for you? How are we doing? You know, looking back to move ahead, like, are we staying centered? Are we staying focused? Are we accomplishing what we said that we were going to do? You know, when we need to adjust, where we need to pivot. So, I'm going to pass it back to Dr. Timworth. Okay, we can go. Well, I just wanted, I did want to pass it to you in case there's anything that you want to flag for us, or if there's anything anybody wants to flag if we have time. Or yes, we can move straight ahead, but it is really about looking back to move forward, but also recognizing this team and this advisory council has done some really amazing work over this past year. So thank you. Yeah, great. Thank you.
You know, one of the things that I have found important is, at different points in time is the significance of reflection and the significance of, you know, taking a pause to talk about how hard this work is. And yet there's still so much to do, but really reflecting, as Amy did, about what our purpose is, our values in this, what drives us each and every day. And so I know, without speaking to each of you directly, I know many of you personally, and I know that you share a lot of what Amy just described as the reason why she gets up, this team, reason why they do what they do, and how you're showing up for young children and families across the Commonwealth and the work you do on a day-to-day basis. So I am just honored to be a part of this work with you, and I'm thankful for the reflection, because that is what continues to help us get better together as a state, with shared responsibility, shared accountability, and progress that needs to be celebrated. So with that, Lynn, I think we're going to turn it over to you. Thank you, Lynn, for that reflection. And we'll continue with our progress updates on the key accomplishments.
Okay, so we pretty much talked about everything in the partner report that is on my Head Start Collaboration Office slide, the 9,000 Family Guide distribution, and the successful award of the grant. We did zero out the previous year's grant, completely zeroed out, which, with grants doesn't always happen. So we were really happy about that. And then we also, that family engagement piece with Pritchard, we've worked really closely with them, and the professional development module components that are a part of that came from our office. And so that is something that we are really proud to promote and to get people on board with. And so those are the key accomplishments for the Head Start Collaboration Office. You can go to the next slide. And workforce is something that is very much a part of everything we do in this office. It's very much a part of everything that we're trying to do moving forward. And so these are some of the key accomplishments in the workforce space from this last year. We were really excited to finally release the early childhood standards. And I just actually had a meeting today where someone said, again, it's so wonderful to be able to access these online. It's so much easier. So if you haven't looked at what they look like on our website, do that, because it's so much easier than wading through a lot of paper and tabs and text and trying to find things. Along with that, the family guides did come out, and we really wanted to change those to be more family friendly. And we changed from parent guide to family guide because we want to be very inclusive. And so those are some things that we were really, really proud of our office for accomplishing. And then the development and the launch of the early childhood standards training of trainers modules, which we are about to have online availability for other trainers to do. But we did launch that at our June Institute, and we had about 60 some trainers complete that, and they are already training and using the early childhood standards. All of those things took a lot of work, a lot of hours, and a lot of our team's efforts. And so those are the areas in the workforce space that are some of our key accomplishments around standards.
Excellent, excellent. Let's move to our regional collaborative. And Megan, I think you're going to share that for us, right?
Thank you.
Great.
So you guys know we have been busy. We're so excited that we have everything that's going on around and with the regional collaboratives, and there's a lot more to come in the upcoming few months that we're really excited about. These are our boots on the ground people, as you all know. They do the job day in and day out, and they're the ones that are out there really getting their hands dirty, literally some days, as we know. So just as a little reminder, we like to kind of remind people of what the regional collaboratives are tasked with and some of what the network focuses around. But they're tasked with uniting the organizations in our local communities to address the critical early years of a child's life, which we know is the most important. And the network focuses around aligning with the birth of the 5 programs and strategies, really reduce the duplication and leverage the additional resources to ensure that our children in their community have a strong start from the beginning. We work with the Kentucky Center for Statistics, KY-Stats, on our early childhood profiles, which you all might remember that we updated in June to add 2 more factors. And those are to connect prevention strategies along the way of the birth to the 5 pathway to increase access and opportunities to all children. And then, of course, they invest in data-driven solutions through local innovation and decision-making to grow what we call our Kentucky Bright Spots, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with. And then they're working towards effective change to make measurable progress towards locally defined community-wide goals. And so this past RFA, or request for application, we added 3 new regional collaboratives and 6 new counties. And so we currently have 35 out of 37 active collaboratives and 105 active counties. And so we work daily to continue to add more people to existing collaborations and to get those who currently aren't involved, because the more people that we have involved, the more children we're able to reach. And so, as you know, too, we moved to a 2-year request for application, and we were able to have a 200% increase in investment. So we're currently investing over $6 million in the next 2 years to grow what works, to put our money where our mouth is with our regional collaborators. And we're really excited about that. And we refreshed the request for application completely this past time to make it more focused, targeted, simplified, to align with our goal, investing in best practices and through decision-making. And we're continuing to grow our Kentucky Bright Spots and build the RFA around the READY framework and the defined strategies of Ready Families, Ready Communities, and Ready Schools. And so we're able to talk about this work in ways that we have never been able to do before, which is really exciting for us. Because following the RFA, we did an extensive analysis of all the applications. And from that, we found that 94% of our collaboratives are participating in strategies around Ready Families, 89 are doing strategies around Ready Communities, and 43 are doing strategies around Ready Schools. And our review indicated that our core buckets of strategies include things such as home education, professional development, prenatal to free strategies, early literacy strategies, and best practice transition strategies. So from the analysis around that, we built our targeted webinar schedule, and we've had a 250% increase in average participation with those. We've increased our technical assistance in between the webinars and really targeted the webinars based on specific needs of the collaboratives and what we read and learned from reading the applications, that what would benefit our regional collaboratives the most. And so moving forward, of course, we plan to continue to grow and standardize our bright spots, build and refine our standardized metrics and outcomes, and of course, continue to work to get as many people as possible involved in this work so that we can ensure that more children have an early start in Kentucky and that this continues to be the best place to raise our children. Thank you.
Wow. I mean, if that is not a breathtaking report, and to think about the impact that's happening across Kentucky communities. You know, again, I've been doing this work for a pretty long time and have been engaged with multiple executive directors and leaders within this office. And I don't remember ever there being a time in which that type of data and impact has been shown. So I really appreciate you sharing that, Megan, and your leadership, as well as yours, Lynn, in the work we're doing. And I think we have now Brenda will share on an apprenticeship work and a key accomplishment.
You know, as you all know, I love this program. This office is really invested highly in the program. And this year we developed, over the past 2 years, we've developed a very early childhood administrator director apprenticeship. It is one of the first, if not the first in the country. We started in, it was approved in February of this year by the Kentucky Office of Employer Apprenticeship Services. And it launched at the March Early Childhood Institute with Lieutenant Governor Jacqueline Coleman introducing everyone and kicking the program off. We started with 70 apprentices and 38 mentors. I think we've lost 2 apprentices. One has shifted to the educator apprenticeship that starts in January, and one actually pulled. That's pretty good. No,
It's great, yeah.
we have had, our apprentices have completed since April 1st, over 8,600 hours of on-the-job learning in high quality settings. They've also completed 1,569 and a quarter hours of related technical instruction. And that can be through the Lakeshore Learning Series trainings that we've had. It can be through the trainings that we specifically built for the program. And, or it can be when a director, like our guest today, Christy Vandeventer, takes time to show their apprentices how to do something that is a practical application of content in their work. And we are seeing amazing numbers. This is after our 3rd quarter review at the end of October. We're keeping that data and that information. Everyone is starting to get their first raises, and we are looking at many dollars going out in the first raises, milestone achievement awards, performance achievement awards. So at this point, every 1,000 hours that is completed, the apprentice gets a 50-cent per hour raise. The owner gets a performance achievement incentive, which is $500 towards their program, because we want them to be all in. We want them to support their apprentices, to make it possible for them to come to the Early Childhood Institute, which we provide a scholarship for. And both the mentor and the apprentice receive milestone achievement awards. So the first one is 250, the second is 100. So you're looking at, this is per apprentice this is a wonderful advantage to the programs. I was talking to Andrea Day prior to starting the meeting today, and we've been in a couple meetings in the past couple days, this has come up. The way that we have intentionally coordinated the work of the Division of Child Care, built it into these apprenticeships, and then are linking it to the upcoming infant, toddler, and school age credentials. We are very, very proud of this collaborative, coordinated attack on workforce pipeline issues. We're looking at the workforce continuum from entry level all the way to exit strategies. The administrator director apprenticeship is a succession planning strategy to help directors, owners, providers prepare for the next generation of leaders. It is a model that is being looked at across the country. And one of the things that I'm the most proud of, we looked at, when we first started talking about this apprenticeship, we looked at the director credential. We pulled all of those competencies into this apprenticeship. But then we also looked at where the gaps were. That, there's a lot of content expertise in that, but there were some practical application gaps. So we built in collaboration with the Division of Child Care, every director in this program has to take strengthening business practices. So everyone will be trained on this particular training. Everyone will also be taking the early childhood standards training. They're also taking the family engagement in early childhood training, where they have to conduct a school self-assessment, build a family engagement team and plan in order to meet all the criteria for this. In addition, we've added in ethics in early childhood. We realized immediately once we got started, we had no mentor training, so we built that. This has been a great opportunity to look at a program that has never been done before and to start applying the work that we've all done and taken the strengths of each department and each group and pulled it together and said, we can really build something meaningful here. And so now we're getting ready to add a director roundtable series so that directors have a network that they can connect with each other and other mentors to be able to continue to support when the apprenticeship is over. We're really excited about the program. I'm especially excited to introduce Chrissy Vandeventer today. She's coming from Bardstown City Schools, where she serves as the Bardstown Child Care Program Director. She currently has 4 apprentices. And as I look around this room, we have Amy Smith, who has apprentices, and Twyla Burdett, who has apprentices. And so our Early Childhood Advisory Council is fully on board as well. And we appreciate that because that kind of level of leadership and buy-in is what's going to take this program far. So without further ado, Christy, would you like to share your story of best practices in the Early Childhood Administrator Director Apprenticeship?
I would be honored to. Thank you so much for having me. I first saw this across my desk and I thought, oh, this is a great way for me to learn how to do my job better. Because what better way is there to learn than to teach? Oh, yes, this will be great. If I have to make time in my schedule to work with a mentee, then I'm going to be able to actually think through these processes. So it was really exciting for me when I saw this across my desk. And let's just be honest, retirement looks really good, friends. A lot of work into our program. I have to be able to leave it in quality hands. So I thought, boy, this will be perfect. And I work so much better with a team because I recognize how valuable a team is. My brain works in one way. My team, their brains work in different ways, which means I'm going to get a much better picture if I have a team. So we were able to pull together our apprentices, and it has been wonderful. It has really been so fantastic. We have folks who are ready to become leaders and they are doing it. Then we've got others who are thinking, I wanted to learn, but now I'm a little scared. I didn't realize this was such a big job. Well, that was a good thing for them to see. It was really nice for them to be able to see what is going on in this role. What does it look like to be a director? So they have since decided they wanted to go to college. So now they're going to take advantage of some of these grants that we have available so they can go on to earn their IACP. So we are really hitting several birds with this stuff. Really exciting. I feel like when you enter ground level with the program, you are really getting so many resources. For me, I need those resources. I like those safety nets and the networking piece. You're talking about what worked, what didn't work, how can we do it better? For me, my brain works by making mistakes. Well, being a guinea pig, you're making mistakes, right? So that works out really well. When I thought, okay, how am I going to help my folks learn? Because yes, there are 4 of them, but we are divided between locations. I'm not able to spend one-on-one time with each of these ladies. How do I share the same message? Because you know how it is. When you say something to this person and you go to the next person, you think you may have shared that with them, but something gets lost in translation. So I thought, oh, okay, I'll create my own RTI. And I did some videoing, with all this new COVID business, and we started doing Zooms. I thought, hey, I can record myself going step by step over CCAP. For example, we were doing a CCAP. What does that look like from my desk? We take the training, we see what that looks like, but when you're actually sitting in that seat, what would you do? They were able to then look back on that video and take care of our CCAP for the month. Really exciting. They said, do you want me to watch the video or do you want to walk me through it? I said, I want you to take your notes. I'm going to step away and I want you to handle it. So it was really neat. It was very exciting. Over the summer, I noticed while we were at the Early Childhood Institute, I was hearing lots of complaints. I think people were tired by the time we hit the summer, and so my staff was complaining, well, this one isn't doing it correctly, and that one could have done it better. And I thought, ladies, you're a team. We need to come together and we need to help each other. How can we make that happen? And 2 of my apprentices said, we've got it. We've got you. We were going to have a group PD. So they put together a PowerPoint on what would that look like. They stood up, they presented to my entire department. They had never done public speaking before. They had not put together a PowerPoint presentation. I later in the day had another group who does this for a living. And I would say, I'm biased, but my team really, I thought, theirs was so professional. What they put together was just very, very appropriate for the situation we were in. What better way to show leadership in their team? So they were able to share those things, really exciting. And then I've begun thinking about that retirement again. And I thought, what is that going to look like? Well, I have 4 apprentices that I'm going to be able to watch grow over the next 3 years. And at the end of 2025, I plan to post my position as well as my assistant. For those of you who've been in childcare for a long time, you may have heard of Brenda Hickman. Brenda Hickman is fabulous. She was my mentor and now my partner. She too will be retiring at the same time. And our goal is to hire our replacements at the top of 26, and then they're going to just shadow us for those 6 months prior to us leaving. So they'll already have these years of experience, then they'll have that 6 months prior to us leaving. Wow. Now this is all, of course, the plan. Plans can change over time, but I'm excited because I feel like this is a very solid plan and our folks are going to be able to carry on the program we have in place. Thank you for allowing us to participate.
I have a few minutes just to take any questions. Thank you so much for such thorough and impressive representation of the work you're doing, the impact that it's having, and the force that you have and that you're building into implement. If you do decide to make your transition to retirement or the next chapter, folks will be here and maintain the quality of work that you have been doing and the team. For you. Are there any questions, from our colleagues, virtually? Let me go there first.
Jason said, thank you for sharing.
Okay, or yeah, or any comments if you want to come off mute that you would like to share with us. Okay, seeing none, are there any here in the room, any questions, comments? Dr. Bridges?
I just wanted to know about your role in Bartown schools. And because there's a child care program, so are you employed by Bartown School? And then you're over the child care, the licensed child care program?
It is really neat. It is really neat. It's my second career. I was family resource and youth services prior, so this was a whole new ballgame, which is why I needed to learn my job better.
But to me, it also said something about your superintendent and how they feel, how that person feels about the connection with early learning and school. So sounds like a model to me.
And best practice for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Congrats.
Brenda?
I just wanted to add that, Amanda and I hear every month from our mentors. So Christy and Brenda are mentors for their apprentices, like Amy and Twyla are for theirs. They complete a monthly survey saying what they worked on and if they have any comments they want to share about, impact or how things are going. And we hear things like my apprentices now complete our CCAP paperwork. My apprentices now understand why attendance records matter so much, right? A variety of things, but we're hearing these stories across the board. And so I love that you came to share because you're a best practice bright spot. We have others in this room that could have done the same thing, but we probably have another 40 that could have done the same thing because this is the same kind of information we're hearing. And it's really gratifying to hear that when we conducted this needs analysis on what was needed, where the gaps were, and we built this program to fill in those gaps, that we're actually getting to see that investment in the future of our leadership has been great. And so I just really appreciate you driving from Bardstown to talk about this. I love the program, but I love the enthusiasm that we're getting from people in the program. We're getting ready to launch the educator apprenticeship and the child care development specialist apprenticeships in January, where we have about 30 in one and 18 in the other. So we're getting ready to go full-fledged in teaching apprenticeships next year.
Awesome. Was there another comment or question?
Yeah, just a comment. Just want to say thank you so much for coming. I really enjoyed your presentation. Although you said 3 years, I wish I had 3 more years. I want 3 years. But just thank you so much. I really enjoyed it, especially the mentorship piece. I think mentorship is extremely important. Research talks about it. Bring out the best of you personally and professionally. So thank you so much for coming.
Yes. Yep, sure. Getting ready to turn it back over to you.
No, I just wanted to, because we have time and this is an important part of this story that we do try to share. One of the things about this office is that just the way this office is put together, there's a lot of turnover in this office. And so sometimes the stories are disconnected. And so I think because this strategy is so critical to the future of the work, I think this is important to share. These federal grants that come down can be so impactful. It can be so impactful. And so when I first came on board, this office was finishing up the preschool development grants. And to be really honest with you, I was really quite pleased that it was the end of that federal grant. It seemed quite messy to me. But I, of course, had to wrap my arms around what needed to get done to finish that up. But just like I met with the advisory council one-on-one and said, help me understand what's working, what's not working. I also did that with the team who was there. And And, you know, workforce, of course, was critical, but I remember meeting with Brenda at the time, who was not a full-time staff. She was a part of the grants. And I remember her telling me about the strategy and, you know, Brenda, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think my quote was, I don't really get it, but I get it's really important and it's innovative and no one else is doing this. There's a gap in Kentucky, and there was. And so we needed to fill the gap. And so at the time, the lieutenant governor was serving as also the secretary, and you know, the deputy secretary Reagan was here, and you know, we said, we've got to restructure a position. Someone needs to do this full time. And so that's what we did. We restructured it. So Brenda, you know, did this full time. And that is why our office has been able to take point on the strategy. And so I share that because it is critically important that this office continues to take the lead on that because no one else is doing that, number one. Number two, I think that there's still an opportunity. You know, I serve as the member of the early childhood representative for the Commonwealth Education Continuum, which I'm very proud to do. And yesterday we had a great discussion about goals for 2023. And I'm so glad that I'm the representative because I was able to elevate and lift up the apprenticeship strategy, okay? Last thing I will say is that it's so great to be able to have our models and mentors and folks that can talk about it because the strategy, as successful as we've been, and you know, Brenda and I have talked about the strategy several times nationally. Amanda has talked about it nationally. We get phone calls all the time. It's still flying under the radar here in Kentucky.
Yeah.
It sure is. And so I think there's still just such opportunity.
Yeah, I think that was part of what I was going to add to this as well. And we have, you know, at least 3 examples in the room. This very strong example. And, you know, I think we are not good as a state in general, across entities, of capturing the stories. And storytelling is such an important facet of helping people understand the brilliance that is going on across many communities across our state, as well as like have visual, lift up, right? Like lift up these stories. Those of us that are here can hear them and take them back, right? To our communities. Did you know such and such? But there seems to be a piece that I feel like we might be able to get better at, which is capturing video and storytelling and how we can really begin to elevate these practices. Because, you know, being in formal roles across government entities, you know, it's important for other agencies, right, that are not necessarily always represented here, but other agencies and other individuals need to hear how this program is a design that's having the kind of impact for the future and for the present, right? Because I don't want to leave this without saying, Christy, your opening comment was, what better way is there to learn than to teach? And that is, you know, really powerful for us to all take away today. Like, this is the beauty of the design of this program. And you all are living it out. So thank you so much. I know we need to keep moving, but that is to be celebrated and work is doing. Again, these are my favorite parts of our meetings, sharing best practices, because it's important for us to all learn. It's a learning as well as one that can lift up practice for the common goal. All right, so Amy, I'm gonna turn it over to you. No,
This will be, yes, and this will be quick, I can just say right here, if that's okay with you.
that's fine.
Okay, so next slide. Okay, and so this section is really the looking forward and, what's next. And this is just, you all heard us talk about this when we had that special meeting about the Federal Preschool Development Grant and our application. And, we feel confident that we're going to secure that grant. And we are moving forward as if we are. And so, I would say that our plan and our intent is, we will be moving forward in a integrated approach. Our office with the federal grant implementation team, that's how you will see us operate. And, they are so excited for the plan, the roadmap that we developed with our cross-sector partners across the state to develop, sustainability plans for priority strategies, influence the adoption of evidence-based advocacy and policy roadmap for birth to 3, to bolster training and technical assistance, capacity building, to really think through how might we do coordinated enrollment. When we think about, 211 Connect, women, infant, children, WIC, all of those pieces, home visitation, all the things, how might we, make it user-friendly for families to find out, what are the services that families, should enroll their child in birth to 3. None of that will be easy, and Fred knows what I'm going to say, Lynn knows what I'm going to say. Easy, someone else would have already done it. That means why, that's why we need everybody at the table. We need everybody at the table to figure it out. And so, our eye will be on opportunities to synchronize the work in the upcoming. It's scary. So that's what I have. And, if you have anything to add, Dr. Pine.
Great.
And the next slide is just, our advisory council has seen that. Again, those are, the roadmap from.
So hopefully we'll hear about that, state development grant soon. I know that we're all anticipating good news, and I'm sure that Amy in the office will keep us abreast of any announcements that are to come. I'm just glad again to serve as chair of this council. It has been an honor and pleasure to get to know many of you better and hear about the work that's going on. And so I would like to just close by saying thank you for all that you're doing on a day-to-day basis. We feel like we're a small, my organization feels like we're a small part of the larger, collaborative and solution that we're all driving toward as we continue to do this work together. I know that I am to remind us that our next meeting is on March 16th, and I'm glad that we're going to be back in person. Just to make sure that you have the Early Childhood Institute on your calendars already, and that will be in Lexington this year with the dates April 19th and 20th. Each of you are providing such a deep level of leadership and commitment to this work. And again, I want to thank you on behalf of the Commonwealth and all the work that you've been able to accomplish in your space. But before we make a motion to adjourn, Brenda, did I see your hand go up?
I believe we have a quorum that we can vote on.
That's right. Okay, wonderful. Thank you for that reminder. So you should have already had an opportunity to review the minutes. Next meeting. So now that we have a quorum, there's a motion to approve those minutes. Very good. Andrea, is there a second? Very good. Amy, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Those opposed? Those opposed? Okay, so we have approval of the minutes. Thanks for reminding me of that. Amy, I think that's.
The room is muted. We can't hear on Zoom.
Okay, are we okay now? I just wanted to publicly thank Secretary Friedlander and Commissioner Glass. The Early Childhood Institute has been in place since 2014. And for the very first time, we will be implementing the Early Childhood Partnership, the Early Childhood Institute in partnership with the Cabinet for Health and Family Services and the Kentucky Department of Education and our office. So, thank Secretary Friedlander, Commissioner Glass and their leadership team for helping us to evolve and to break down silos. So we're very excited about that. And then just very proud of our progress. This past year, I'm very proud of former Deputy Secretary Regan named the team the A team. So I wanted to publicly thank them. And it's just a real honor to work with Alicia Cummings Smith as our chairperson. So thank you so much. And then of course our appointed person, thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you all. All right, is there, I wanted to take a picture. Which is like something that we should do. And for those that are on, if we can get the slides down and have them show up, on the Brady Bunch, is that possible? This is very impromptu, so I'm throwing everybody off script. For folks that would love to come off camera, that would be great. And then you need someone to take. Do you mind? So all of us over here, we can just kind of get right here. And then we'll make a motion to adjourn. Okay.
She's not gonna let the adjourn.
Scooch in. Y'all scooch in, or either, no one's. Yeah, maybe. Oh, okay. We should have.
That is good. Let me try a couple stand up.
Oh, you gotta stand up.
Yeah.
Adjourn.
Before, the whole time with my, but just to Brenda, and we were talking and I was on the end and I'm actually quiet for once in my life, but we were chatting about the apprenticeship program. I actually, not long, but I was kind of exposed that I lost one of my staff people about halfway through. We stayed been my apprentice for the rest of the year, and she's come back and worked a couple days a month to keep going. And, we learned a lot about the why we do things, and when she comes back, and she's now over a department, a preschool program, and, she was my assistant director, and, back in the first grade years, like, you got to do this program, so she was still mine. Then I lost her in June. And so we're kind of a little odd, a relationship, how we've kept it up. But it's just been wonderful. And thank God for Brenda. On her toes, and like, give me this paperwork. And to connect the why you do things is beyond. I think that, you know, Chelsea's like, now that she's doing her own program, and then we meet every month and we talk about it, we work together for a couple days. She's like, there's just such a connection of the bigger picture, whether it's about childcare assistance, whether it's about attendance records, whether it's about policies, whatever that is about parent communication or those involvement things. It's just phenomenal, and it should be celebrated and just put out there, because it's probably one of the best things I've ever seen come out of the governor's office for early childhood, and what you guys have done.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing.
Can I add to that too? Because I made some notes, because we talked about how we don't toot our own horns. It's kind of hard to do that. But with things like this program and the impact it's having on, you know, first you have to have that impact on the teachers and the caregivers and the leaders. And then because that impacts children. And that's where we really want to be. So how do we as a council, I mean, I know you all have been on a lot of groups, boards, and what do? You talk, you sit, and you adjourn the meeting, and that's it, you come back and do the same. But how can we fulfill our role and responsibility? Because this is the governor's council. So we as a, this is not an Amy thing, and this is not a staff thing, but this is a board of health thing. How can we elevate what's going on in early childhood? We're required, I know that, but how can we elevate that so others will know? Because what you're doing in Barnes County Schools is huge. It really is. Because it speaks to school districts. There's still that separation. We always talk about collaboration, but it's still separation. Let's make it. It's still that collaboration, especially between school districts and still, because so many of our children, even if they're in school, even if they're in public preschool, they go to a childcare program because their parents work. So let's just think about Felicia, Dr. Cummings Smith, I'm here. Let's just think about what we could do in order to elevate early childhood for this state.
I think that's an amazing call to action, right? As we close our conversation, I think we have some responsibility to own collectively. And let's use our time over the next, season, holiday season, to really come back and begin to think about what are the ways in which we can elevate the practices, the level of coordination, alignment that's going on from this council to better what's happening across the Commonwealth. So,
and let me say one other thing too. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to belabor, but the other thing though, Felicia, before we've been in this business, like many of you, decades actually. But how can we elevate it for our elected officials when they meet, who they educate, whether it's through the education committee, I don't know who that center or whoever it is over that, but really present this data. Let them understand it, and that's it. That's that birth to five, help them understand why that's so.
Yeah, very good. Very good. I'm gonna, last comments. Anyone else? Last comments? Okay, thank you for your contributions today. Is there a motion to adjourn? Very good. Is there a second?
Second.
Very good. Okay, any discussion? All right, our meeting is adjourned.